Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Marilyn Darling Show, and welcome to another episode of Calligraphy for Beginners. Today we are doing some flourishing and the final report. I'm going to share this with our patrons so that they can come and hang out with us too. This will probably be another long one, so I hope that you guys have some coffee or some tea handy. I do have a small announcement, and I have to apologize because I have been having some trouble with I got a notice that one of my patrons was having trouble getting to see one of the videos, and I realized that entire playlist was not being cooperative. So I've changed all the settings. Hopefully YouTube will do its thing and fix the error, and hopefully we will be back to regular scheduled program soon-ish. Okay, today we are here to talk Alexa, stop. Today we are here to talk about flourishing. What is flourishing, you're asking? I can just hear you all right now. So here we have learned all of the basics to create calligraphy. And so we have all of the tools right at our disposal that we need to start doing some basic flourishes. I'm going to take out our guide sheet, put a piece of paper in there, or break out a new page, whatever your case may be. So, when we do a flourish is, what is a flourish? What is a flourish? A flourish is an extension of the basic strokes of calligraphy to make a word more beautiful. So, what does a flourish look like? A flourish would look like this. And that is a flourish. A flourish can be anything as small as just putting a little wave in your tea. A flourish can be making your G into a loop and through. A flourish can be taking an L and continuing the loop into a very elaborate loopy style. A flourish can be taking a letter that ends with something that looks something like this. These are all flourishes. Hi, Obs. How are you doing today? I'm a bit froggy. Just one second. So, when we look at a flourish, a flourish with the A, we'll do capitals first. So a flourish with the A would look something like this. Or, because we have to do it backwards, something like that. This is a flourish. A simple A is just, that is a simple calligraphic A. I seem to have a little frog in my throat. I'll be right back. Okay, so, hi Amy Alphabet, how are you? Happy Friday! A B, a flourish, flourish, so our normal B would look like this. And a flourished B might look like this. Okay. There are so many things that you can do with a B. This is ornamental penmanship B. Another B is like this. So there, any type of extension of a basic letter is considered a flourish. Yeah, I'm just doing this with a monoline. This is a Jinhao 82 with a broad nib. And you can just play with your letters. The basic C looks like this. Pretty simple, right? But if you perhaps throw in a horizontal oval and a little loop, a little curve in, you can make it kind of look rather fancy. Of course, you can always do plain and simple. Here's our plain and simple D. Or if you want to add a little bit of ornamental penmanship in there, it can be very fancy. You can E, our simple E, can be, throw a little horizontal oval in there, a little loopy, and then another little loopy. So all of these are flourishes. I'm going to remove my face because we don't need to see my face. All of these are basic flourishes that that anybody can do. F, so this is our basic F. right? A flourished F might have a little loop and a little wiggle on the top and then a through. Of course, you could turn that loop. You could go this loop right out. You can make it really fancy. Just try and remember where the middles of these lines are, so that way you can have an idea how far down these should come, and there should be like even spacing around this letter. And then even spacing. And then a little tick. Go backwards a little tick. And these will take a little bit of practice. It's going to take a little bit of practice to get these flourishes just looking right. G, our simple G is actually a simple G would be that. But if we put a little horizontal oval in it, and then turn that into a vertical oval with a descending stem loop, or if you want to really get fancy, you can do a descending stem loop flourish. H, little wiggle, plain simple H. But if we put a little horizontal oval in it, we can make it a little fancy. Or we can do one of these deals. Or one of these. All kinds of different ways. These are little flourishes. So, anytime anybody says, oh, that's anytime anybody does just a little tiny wiggle, that's a flourish. And when you're doing your eyes, you can do I can be just a littlest tiny. You can do an eye like this. You can, if you do a little loopy here at the top, come down, do the same as like the B. You can do kind of a little B, or maybe even a little F. And then the J, you can kind of come up. Do a descending stem loop flourish. I think my pen may be running out of ink. My pen is running out of ink. K is, you could do a little horizontal entry oval into a stem, and then maybe spiral out. Do a little flourishing there. So any extension. So an L, you could possibly spiral out into an L. Of course, don't get this confused with an S, because the S comes up from the bottom. You can spiral in with an S. Some might do a little tick and an S like this, or you could even spiral out, spiral in with an S. Trying to think. Okay, a T. So this is your basic T, right? If you can spiral out your T, as long as you don't cross it. You can do a little spiral on your T, give it a little wiggle. U, you can spiral out your U. V is, you could possibly do one of these little wiggly numbers. That's kind of a flourished style of a U. A V, you could do a little spiral out for a V. You could even do a horizontal entry stroke. W, you could do a little horizontal entry stroke. And as you saw right here, I put a little loopy in. X, W, X, Y, Z, X. You could spiral out into an X. Although I wouldn't recommend that for dating advice, but you could spiral in on the X, make it look extra fancy. A lot of spiraling. On the Y, you could do a little looping through, a little pretzel, as I like to call it. So there's a couple of basic flourishes. Now, when we get to the lowercase letters, most of them will happen at the end of a word. So, say that your word ends with a A. You can start the flourish by going to a downward loop. Or if you want to start with an A, if in an upward direction, you can go with a whip. Or if you have a T, say in the word that, you could do a really big wiggle through both of them. Or say that you would have, let's do that again. Oops, wrong that. You could cross the T with a wiggle and then come up and connect that to the top of your H. Of course, you'd have to do it slightly better than this. You'd have to come way down and then start on your upstroke to kind of make it look like it's part of an ascending stem loop. and then you could just cross your T. Or you can take your T and do a whip and cross the T. Just remember that everything that you do on one side of your word needs a balance on the other side of the word, otherwise it looks wonky. So, a word like now that looks wonky. It looks like it's off balance if you just do a plain T at the end. So you want to make sure and balance it good by using a little bit of flourishing. So we're going to do a little flourish here, and then we'll just do a little flourish here. The flourishing doesn't need to be this elaborate thing. You can get away with doing really fancy flourishes by doing a huge wave and through your whole word. And if you have any descenders, so a word like they, so you're gonna flourish your T, and you need something on this side, but you can't go up. So what you can do is you can do a descending flourish. And just remember, what goes up also must be conveyed when you go down. So if you decide to do like a flourish on the bottom that's really on the top that's really big, you should do a flourish on the bottom that's really big if there's a descender. That's very helpful. And also you want to try and make them look kind of like each other. Because say that you have a word that looks like they, but then you have just a, see, they don't really look like each other. So you want to kind of make them look like they're related to each other. Look like the word is part of itself. H-A-E-Y? Is it E-Y or A? I don't, it doesn't matter. So, let's write, let's do a little flourish. So, you can flourish a B by going up, around, and through. Just remember to continue your calligraphy. So you see I have a little flourish in the beginning, and I have a flourish up here. So I need to kind of balance out this word by doing a little tiny flourish down here. And the same thing with doing Amy. You want to make sure that you're doing equal flourishes. Down on the bottom. So if even if you kind of make your letters look a little wonky, they should really balance out. And your flourishes will look totally different than my flourishes. Now, the only way that you're going to learn how to flourish big, we're going to talk about big flourishing. So the only way that you're going to learn how to flourish is by just kind of making your hand go. And remember that most of flourishes are created on ovals. So you can see an oval here, an oval here, an oval here, an oval here, giant oval here, giant oval here. So try not to make them round. This is more round than I would like it. But if you can make your ovals, then you'll be doing pretty well. B, a little oval, B, oval, 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 oval. Okay. And then if you wanted to make a descending stem loop out of that A, you could do that too. There are all kinds of different ways that you can end a letter. You could start coming up and then change your mind and come back down. So there are several different options for you to flourish your lettering. Alright, let's turn the page. One of the most important things is when you're using a flex pen. So this is an ultra flex nib. And one of the rules in calligraphy is not to cross two broad lines. So when you're doing calligraphy, you want to make sure that when you come down and you want to cross through this here, cross through this line, that you want to go through it at a thin angle. So don't cross two thick lines. Don't do it. Okay? If you want to cross a thick line and a thin line, that's okay. You can do that. And it doesn't matter if you have two thick lines next to each other. It doesn't matter. Just don't cross a thick line with a thick line. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're going in a downward direction, you don't want to cross two thick lines, because that just looks weird. Or if you do, use no pressure on one and then pressure on the other. Or you could no pressure and then pressure and then pressure and then no pressure. Or you could just go like that. Y is a you could do a G. G can be, most of the letters can be flourished. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you try all of the letters, you will get a pretty good idea of the basics. There's several basic flourishes. There's the swirl, there's the whip, there is the loop and through, there is just a simple loop, or like a pigtail. There's a wave, and try to think of any others. There's something called the super whip. And then when you start getting into big flourishing, your letters will be 3 times high, so you'll write words like and you'll find that if you rest this is your pinky, this is your joint for your pinky. If you rest that on your board like this, and you hold your hand with your pen and you maneuver it like this, making sure that it's flowing freely. Remember our scribbling exercise in the beginning, where we just scribbled? You should be able to make circles and ovals in the opposite direction. And now you're going to make figure 8s. This pen is not working. I don't know why. I'm going to use a pencil. So when you're practicing, practice doing some figure 8s. This will help when you're trying to create infinity loops. And then when you write words like that, you can kind of get an idea of where you want your cross to be. It's going to be right about there, and you kind of want to go directly through that oval, and you don't want to touch that A, so you kind of want to get a good flow of how you want that to look. And then you just remember you're using your pinky as leverage, and then you just kind of go for it. And that is a flourish. Let's skip the page. Let's turn the page. Let's get to a new page. Now, there are no rules when it comes to flourishing. However, in my personal, humble opinion, I do believe that there is such thing as too much flourishing. Yes, I said it. There can be too many loops and too many things. So, in order to make your writing look completely crazy, try not to flourish every single thing, because if you flourish this loop and then you flourish this R and then you flourish this E and then you flourish this Y, what happened? What happened? Too many things happened. Okay, now I have no idea what this word even is. So, keep your flourishes simple and legible so people know what they are. This little thing here is simple, but it's a flourish. Keep it simple, keep it legible, so everyone can understand what's going on. Okay? Of course, my writing's terrible today. I woke up late. Of course, I am on vacation and I don't really have a wake-up time, so it's been a very educational journey. Well, let's do a little practice writing with our flexible fountain pen. There is a little bit of flourishing. That's probably the max amount of flourishing that you want to do on a letter. There's just too much going on, and if people can't understand what's going on, then the word becomes mute. So, just keep it simple. Simple, elegant. Slightly more complicated, but still beautiful. Are we all there? Is everyone doing well? Any questions, comments, concerns? Try to decide what pen I want to use. Now you can use when... Oh yes, tittle. Don't forget to tittle your eyes. I don't really have a... If you wanted to tittle your eyes, you could do like a small spiral. But here's the thing. This is wide rule notebook paper. And when you're writing, we're going to talk right now about miniaturization. Sounds like a big complicated word, and it really isn't. So these are wide rule, where if you're using wide rule, then this should be very complicated. I highly encourage everybody to try some wide rule composition book and then get some college rule composition book paper, because then what you can do is you can take that, what you've learned, and you can miniaturize it by going to the next smallest, which is the college rule composition book. This is yellow. It's not coming out good. Okay. I really should just ink up a black pen. But I don't want to. Okay. We'll just use the nib creeper. So, your letters will be smaller than they were when you were using the college rule composition paper. You see how small it got? Okay. Oh, good. I'm so glad. They shouldn't be very expensive. They should just 99-cent store has clipboards. You know, nothing expensive here. We're just using simple tools. And so, once you've completed using the wide rule composition book paper, I encourage you to try using the college rule composition book to practice your calligraphy. Two line widths high. And it will feel a little different. It'll seem like you have less space to do your flexing with, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. Okay. Okay, then, after you've done that, you go back to your wide rule composition book, and you use a single line. So we go from writing really big to really small. And you even have even smaller of a space to do your flexing with. See, now we're getting serious. Now you're freaking out. You're like, oh God, I'm never going to be able to write that small. This is where the real test comes in. Okay? Because writing small is no small feat. It is very difficult. Putting those little tiny pressures right where you need them is super difficult. You just kind of have to bloop, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. So it becomes really hard when you get to that small of a level. And of course, I'm not doing this with guidelines at the moment. But once you get to this point, you're going to go back to the college rule paper. And then you're really going to be shitting your pants. You're going to be like, oh my God, that's the worst. This is the worst. You're going to write on the college rule paper, and this is your X height. Yeah, I know. So when you're making your E's, you gotta make them really tiny. Yeah, I know. Yeah. A little tiny loopy friend. B's, loop, 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 bloop, 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 bloop. Oops. Itty bitty teeny tiny writing. 5mm dot grid that snapped me back to reality real fast. Yes, exactly. 5mm is nothing. It's like super tiny. When you're looking at college rule, let me see. when you're looking at college rule lines, if we look at down here, we can see that college rule paper lines are only like 7 millimeters. Yeah, 7 millimeters wide. And I see these people writing in Hobonichi. You guys, Hobonichis are only 3 millimeters across. Maybe 4 millimeters. Unbelievable. I don't know how people write in that tiny of a space. It's just not possible. You have to have a very extra fine line or use a pencil. It's nearly impossible. And this is a Noodler's Nib Creeper. It's not the thinnest. 3.7, yeah. So, it's not the thinnest line that you can make. Probably the thinnest line that you can probably get at the moment is a Sailor Pro Gear. This is a medium fine, just for example. So, it's not much thinner. It doesn't get much thinner than that. I have a special ground. This here is I got from fpnibs.com. This is an extra fine line. And this was probably my most prized possession. And as you can see, it does write very, very finely. But this nib also costs $300, so just the nib, not the pen, just the nib. And let's try a Fountain Pen Revolution Ultraflex nib. So, if it wants to let me have some ink. It's not the finest line, but it's not the widest either. Bloop. 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 You gotta really kind of give it a little bit of when you really wanna push down on it. You just gotta give it just a little bloop when you're doing calligraphy. Bloop. 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 So it's going to take a lot of practice to get that very, very fine line. And trying to make flourishes with these, good luck. That takes super duper fine lines. You guys can probably do it better than I can. Because a little bit of flourish there. S. Little tiny flourish right there. But even then, I'm going outside the line, so bloop, bloop, bloop. So it's going to take a little bit of practice so that people can kind of get an idea of where you're at. And if you're doing monoline calligraphy, There's no flexing, but you can do it. WX. Y. Z. Takes up two lines though. I want to do my own headers in calligraphy. Headers in calligraphy. But for sure use double boxes. Yes, exactly. Anytime excuse me. Anytime anybody ever gets a letter from me, this is what it looks like. I'll just show you. We're going to say, dear Dear Amy. That just took up 3 boxes right there. The one that's in this one or the ones that's in this one? Blue cow or sparkly? Jinhao 82 or Fountain Pen Revolution? I'm sorry, Jinhao 82 or Noodler's Conrad. So, and that writing this small is not easy. Most of the time I take up 2 spaces. I double space, and I also only write on one side of the letter. So, dear Amy. So, You see it blooped out on the page a little bit, so I always have a little bit of toilet roll nearby, because then you can just blot it off, and hopefully it won't make too big of a mess. But it happens. You know, life happens. Sometimes you put things down and they don't come out exactly how you want them to. Now, unless you're making a memento piece, then perhaps you could just continue on. Or you can use some white paint marker or something to cover up your mistake. So this is just a uniball white ink, and you could just cover up those little mistakes on your way. Not the best example of fixing your calligraphy, but something. Hi, Shay Shay Girl. How are you doing today? Are you having a nice day? All right. Are you all ready for the final? All right, let's do it. The final is we're gonna write a poem. We're gonna write a poem, and it's going to be it's going to be How Doth the Crocodile. Does anybody know the words to How Doth the Crocodile? Alexa, stop. Not a bad day. Oh, that's great. I like it very much when it's not a bad day. Those are my favorite kinds of days. So, you're going to pick your flexible pen, and we're going to write How Doth the Crocodile. And the poem goes, How doth the crocodile improve his shining tail, and pours the water of the Nile over every golden scale. How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes little fishies in with gently closing jaws. And it's by Lewis Carroll, if you don't know. So this will not be due today or tomorrow or next week. So I want you to take your time and do it proper, and use as much paper as you need to do it. Remember, always mark off your X heights when you're practicing, and do your best job, put your best foot forward. Go nice and slow, and take as much time as you need to complete the poem. So, How Doth the Crocodile? How you don't have to use any flourishes or anything fancy, but you can if you want to. How doth the crocodile improve his shining tail? And pores. Pours the waters of the Nile Don't forget to tiddle your eyes. Tiddle your eyes and cross your T's. And pour water over. Over every. Golden. Scale. Okay. All right. At this time, put your pens down, give yourself a little stretch. We've been doing this for an hour and 12 minutes. I can't believe it. Nice big stretch. Get it all out. Give your hands a little break. Sometimes you need to, in the middle of your test, you need to put your pens down and just kind of walk away for a second or two. If your hands are cold, you know, give them a little warm rubbing and just kind of let them be free a little bit. Your fingers a good wiggle. And then get back to it. Waters of the Nile over every golden scale. how cheerful, cheerfully, cheerful. How cheerful he seems to grin. He seems to grin Sometimes, if you're very close, near to the end of the page, you want to kind of take your pen and just over the area that you think that you're going to write the word, kind of trace it out so that way you don't run off the edge of your paper. That's the other reason that we use the guidelines, is so that we can use the guidelines to figure out how far exactly over that we need to go by tracing each of the guidelines with the basic strokes inside of them, so that way we can determine if we're going to have enough room on the page or not. So, cheerfully he seems to grin. How? See, I almost ran off the page there, but I had to trace it and make sure that I had enough space. That's very useful for the guidelines. Seems to grin. How neatly spreads his I know I'm not going to have enough room over here to write claws. C L A. Yeah, I won't have enough space, so spreads his claws. C L A W S. And A N E welcomes W E L I might just have enough. W E L C O M E S. Ooh, that was a really shaky downstroke. I can feel my blood sugar is low. Be right back. One of the key things to doing calligraphy is to make sure that you're not hungry, sleepy, or uncaffeinated, because make sure that your sugar levels are good, make sure that you're well taken care of before you start, because you will always know as soon as you start writing if you have shaky handwriting or not. And there's nothing wrong with going back and fixing a couple little things, but if the whole piece looks chunky, then maybe have some juice. I usually don't eat till 4 o'clock, so that's just what happens. Spits his claws, and well, little, drop 2 down, mark off our egg site, little, L, I, T, T, L, E. You can also double cross your T's if you have 2 T's in a row. Fishies. F. H. I. E. S. Tiddle, diddle. In. With. W. I. T. H. Cross. Tiddle. Okay, so we're going to start on the red line. G. E. N. T. L. Y. C, closing, L, O, into an S, I, N, G, Jaws, J, A, W, S. How doth the crocodile improve his shining tail, and pours the water of the Nile over every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes little fishies in with gently closing jaws. Now, to complete the final, I want you to take a picture of it and post it on Instagram. Your first bold move. And then you're going to have yourself a little glass of juice and celebratory congratulations for completing the class. Now, if you want to win a Fountain Pen Revolution Himalaya version 2 with an Ultra Flex nib and a small sample of ink, all you have to do is write it again. Write this again, only do it better. And the nicest person that submits their version to the Instagram and tags me at doesn't have to be done today, but the final will be required a week from today. And we'll give you a week. I think it takes about a week to get one good poem out. And you can do it with any color you want. You can do it with any tools you want. You can use a brush pen or fountain pen or dip pen. Doesn't matter. You can do monoline calligraphy or flex calligraphy, as long as it's the nicest one possible. And then tag me on Instagram at Marilyn Darling, and I will see who has the best one. And we will make a decision of whose is best. Well, I'll make a decision of whose is best. And then they will win a Fountain Pen Revolution Himalaya in their choosing color with an Ultra Flex nib. So, take a look at what the colors are. The Himalaya comes with silver trim or gold trim. So it comes with silver or gold trim. Okay. And it comes in a multitude of colors. There's the blue lapis, or the blue, yeah, I think it's blue, indigo blue, indigo arctic blue, peacock aqua, amethyst purple, candy cane pink and red, vermilion red orange, saffron orange, jade smoke, marble black and white, green ebonite, brown ebonite, maroon ebonite, and Taj Mahal white. And you'll get an Ultra Flex nib. Ooh, that one's kind of pretty. I have a lot of these. So, and they come with proprietary cartridge converter, and you can use them with noodlers, nibs, but I think that they're proprietary number 6 kind of shape. Their nibs are kind of proprietary, so yeah. And they come in gold trim too. And they also come in all of the different colors. Saffron orange, indigo blue, jade, amethyst, marble, vermilion, brown, green, maroon, candy pink, and peacock. And the nicest one will win. And maybe I will add in a couple of little goodies here and there. Maybe some, I'll give you a little sample of ink so that you can make beautiful calligraphy on your envelopes. Tomorrow, I will be holding a Zoom pen hangout for those of you who have joined the class so that you can ask questions. All you need to do is have Zoom installed on your computer. Most people have Zoom these days. If you don't have Zoom, you can go to Zoom. You can search for Zoom on Google. It's zoom.us. Download the program, install it, and then when you come to the Patreon, there will be a link to the Zoom call. All you have to do is click it, and you should be entered into the room. And then I will be there with my face, and this will not be recorded, so you don't have to worry about anything like that going on the internet. It's just going to be us hanging out, asking questions about whatever you have questions for. Yes, definitely redo it. Redo it a couple times. If you take the week, it's gonna take you like a week to get one good one. And the poem isn't that long. It's one page, double space. So I mean, you can make it really tiny. I would not make it very tiny. I would do it big. This is a college rule paper, so you should be able to get it all on one college rule paper. But if it goes over multiple pages, that's fine too. Just don't do it front and back. That's my advice. Don't do it front and back. And for anybody who is wondering, this ink is Diamine It is a really pretty blue sparkly. Really pretty blue sparkly ink. Okay. Now that I've rambled on for 2 hours and 30 minutes, oh, an hour and 30 minutes, does anybody have any questions that I might be able to answer right now? Who's going to be coming to the Zoom Pen Hangout? Anybody going to come? I hope so. It'd be nice to see you all. Face to face, so to speak. Suppose I could bring my mug up now. There. That better. Well. Awesome. I can't wait to see you. So... it's damn it. Can't spell today, don't notice. Something. 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 So, I want to say huge thanks goes out to all of my patrons. I want to thank you guys. Without you guys, this could not be possible. So, I want to thank you for subscribing. You are the reason that I do this. And I want you to know that it means the world that I get to do one little part of something that I love very much. And that's teaching. I love teaching. It's one of my favorite things to do. So, that is all that I have for you today. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I hope that you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media. Like, comment, subscribe, but ring the little bell. Make sure it's set to all so when I upload new content, YouTube notifies you. And I will be back very soon with another video. So take care until then. Okay, love you, bye. Have a great day. You are so welcome. Okay, bye.